What's up, disciplined investor?
We got Benzinga CEO Jason Raznick here with us.
The man, the myth, the legend, Tom Nash.
Peter Schiff on the Power Hour with us live today.
Interesting, different, unique, innovative companies.
Mia, you are live with us on the Power Hour. What's up?
Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Jessica Billingsley, that is the CEO of Akerna.
The best trade idea resource out there.
What is up, y'all? Happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga Power Hour. Let me know in the chat what everyone is watching today. Of course, we've got DWAC. Everyone's been watching DWAC today, trading at right around $100. Let me get on a shorter time frame chart there because we're not going to be able to see much from the daily. There we go. We're on the 15-minute candles here. Got all the way up to 175 earlier, rejected there. Had a couple of halts on the way down, another halt on the way back up, right around $100. I do got my man Shinobi Signals here. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on, see what he's watching today, what trades he's made this week. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Shinobi on. Shinobi, what's going on, man?
Yo, what's up?
Real quick before we get going, for maybe some of our audience that may not be familiar with you, you want to go ahead and give your kind of background in trading, how you trade, what you've been trading recently?
Yeah, so I'm mainly just options trader, and I trade I trade the theme on small caps when it comes around, but mainly I'm just an options trader. I trade everything. I trade small caps, mid caps, large caps, everything.
Got it. So what have you been watching this week?
This week I was mainly watching CNTX. Since yesterday, I got it around 5.2, and then yesterday I had an insane run, dipped back this morning. Pre-market added more. Then today it almost went to like $8, which was wild.
Oh, so this stock just went public, huh?
Yeah. So mainly a bunch of there's been a lot of low flow IPOs that have been just running. So this was one of them. So I've been playing this one a lot. It's probably my favorite one as of right now.
And so have you traded, speaking of low float IPOs, have you traded DWAC at all or not really?
DWAC, no, dude, I missed it completely. I saw it go from 10 to 20, right? So I saw it go from 10 to 20, and then I was on Fortnite playing, and then with some of my trading buddies, and they were like, yo, DWAC's at 21. It just got halted up. I was like, yo, should we play this halt up? And we didn't. And the next thing you know, I look back like an hour later, it's at 50. I'm like, dang, this went up so high. And then I check after hours, it's at like 69. And I'm like, oh, crap. And then this morning I look, it hit 175. And I was just like, what? It just, how high can it go? You know, it was just crazy to me. But one stock that actually could have been a better play than DWAC, actually a lot better, would have been PHUN. So Stock Swing or Stock Talk Weekly on Twitter. He told me about it at $1.10, and he's like, yo, just buy it and hold. And then I didn't buy it because I was in CNTX. I was just holding. Next thing you know, this thing goes up 2,000%. It literally hit 24. So it went from $1.10 overnight, hits 24. And that was like the craziest play I've ever seen. And yeah.
Yeah, we've had CEO Randall Crowder on the show a couple times from Phunware. They're actually going to be at our small cap conference next week. So if you haven't, registered for the small cap conference yet, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat. Phunware will be there. I'll pull up my Robinhood real quick because I've traded Phunware a little bit, not on this run, but I'm kicking myself here. I'll pull it up real quick. Let me show y'all. Chrome tab. Yeah, so here on Robinhood, if I go down to history, I bought this originally at 127 a share. So if I would have held on to that, I would have been up nice, but I ended up selling it at 222 for about 100% gain. Nothing crazy. I just threw some money out there because I liked Randall. I liked their CEO. Oh wait, I wasn't even sharing my screen. So yeah, right here at 127, put an order out, bought it a couple times, and then sold at 222. So if I would have held on to that from back in January or February, I would have been up nice today. But yes, so going back to CNTX, do you trade biotech stocks like that a lot, or was it more just because it was a recent IPO with a low float?
Just recent IPO, low float. That's why I played it, and that seems to be the theme that's picking up. today, and I mainly played it because Zach Morris, and before he played DATS, which was a low float IPO, and then I'm like, you know what, this could be the next one to go, and then yeah, freaking sent. I'm still in, and then now I'm just looking at other like recent low float IPOs. I really just haven't been seeing anything too good, like worth watching, to be honest. Like the volume is all in DWAC and PHUN right now, and
What about this
CRT.
one, Portillo's?
I have no idea what Portillo is, but
So
I didn't.
Portillo's it's like a restaurant chain in Chicago, like a hot dog chain, but they just IPO'd, and I'm pretty sure it was a low float. So it opened at like, I don't know, it's up 28% today. It's been moving nicely. So
Yeah, so
that might be
there's
one
the move. That's the move right there. I mean, if you would have just picked it up yesterday, seen it was a low flow IPO, you would have been banking today. But I didn't even know it IPO'd, if I'm being honest.
So where are you checking like on your radar to find these low float IPOs?
Honestly, I went on FinViz, but the thing is, FinViz takes a while to like actually put them up there. So I used trade ideas, and then I just asked around. So I was asking people about like I was going into different Discord chats like Sapphire and Atlas and just typing in low float IPO and like different ways and just seeing what tickers people were mentioning. And then that's how I pretty much found it.
Got it.
Yeah. I just used it as a scanner pretty much.
Oh, sorry, I was about to sneeze. So you're still playing Fortnite?
Yeah.
You play like Warzone or anything else, or you just stick to Fortnite?
I used to. I just play Fortnite because I don't know why. Me and all my friends still play Fortnite.
I got to get back on there. I haven't played in a while, but I got to get back into it.
Yeah. It's fun.
Speaking of Fortnite, let's check Tencent. How Tencent's doing. All these Chinese names are finally getting some volume back into them after getting crushed for a couple months.
Yeah.
Ooh, Tencent doesn't look good here though. The chart looks kind of ugly.
Yeah, dude. All the charts right now, just nothing's really setting up too well. Everything's just all over the place. Which is fine, but it just comes down to just finding the right one, There's always going to be one chart or one, sector that's hot, and you just got to go there before everyone else. And
so do you have any options like open going into next week, or are you kind of closing all your positions right now?
I had pins calls going into today, and they were up 30% yesterday, and then this morning I was down horrendous because Snap missed earnings, and then took Pinterest down with it, and then I sold at open. I took a pretty fat loss, but I'm really not looking to swing any options over the weekend. Maybe like shares, like CNTX, stuff like that. If they get a nice dip, I'll add more. But I'm not really too keen holding options over this weekend, especially after what we just saw happen to DWAC and PHUN. It's like options might not be the move right now. If small caps are gonna run, then there's better returns there. I'd rather be there. And yeah.
What do you trade any? Are you mainly just buying like normal calls and normal puts, or do you do any like spreads or anything crazy like that?
No, I just buy calls and puts. I don't really like doing spreads too much. I never really got into it. Like a lot of people I know, they're really good at spreads and stuff like that. I just never got into it, and I really am not the best at them. So I just tend to stay away. I just stick to what I'm good at.
Yeah. Yeah, we were watching Tesla today hit all-time highs earlier today, got all the way up to about 908, I believe, trading a little lower off those highs, down to 902 right now. But we always got to keep our eye on Tesla, right?
Yeah. Tesla just hit all-time highs, right?
Yeah, earlier today it got up to, I think it's still at like pretty much all-time highs, but earlier today it got all the way up to like 908, 909, and then now it's trading lower a little bit down to 902, but I mean, if you go back out on the daily chart, it's just been so strong since back in May when it hit like 550. It's just ripped up fucking $350 in the last 4 months.
Yeah, dude, it's been crazy. I didn't expect Tesla. Like the other day, like today, someone hits me up and they're like, "Yo, Tesla just hit all-time highs," and I'm like, "Already?" Like it was just at like 700 not too long ago.
I know a lot of people are calling it for it to hit. I see it in the chat too. A lot of people are calling for it to hit $1,000 by the end of the year. Definitely think that's, in the play potentially. So we will see.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
All right. What else should we check out today, Shinobi?
Honestly, my main watch right now was BCYP coming into the interview, and then I like it here at these levels. It's running really nice. I know Ripster was looking at it as well.
So this is a SPAC. Do we know the company they're merging with?
No, I just saw Ripster looked at it. I'm like, let me look at it. But it could be the next, SPAC to run. That's the thing. Like, I'm just playing the themes here. I'm not really playing like the company or anything like that. It's just like if the theme's there, like the entire like sector will run with it. So that's pretty much what's happening with these, low float IPOs, these SPACs like DWAC and shit like that.
Yeah, but so I mean, at Ripster, like we have Ripster on before, and I know he's a big like technical guy. He's got his EMA clouds, but how is he charting this? If it's SPACs don't really typically move a lot off the, they usually just hang out right around $10 before at least the merger's announced.
Yeah, he's just saying. He just said it's on scans. Like he's seeing some bids flash on it, maybe SPAC runner for the day, and he's watching it close. And that's what I'm not in it yet. I'm just watching it closely. But with him. But before coming into the interview, I had a bull flag on the 5-minute, and now we just saw a big volume candle on that red candle, and then we just see it reverse right back. So we're seeing buying pressure. Obviously, it's just depending on if that SPAC merger theme stays, and which it looks like it will. Like DWAC is curling here as well. Like it dropped from 175 all the way down to 69 and then bounced right back to 107. So it's like it's all just dependent on the sector and the theme right now.
100%. I think, with from DWAC and stuff, we might start seeing some more volume come into these SPACs as they announce, because they've been out of favor for a while now. Checking in the chat, Johnny B saying, what about AGC, another SPAC? Let's check that out.
The thing with AGC is it has like no volume right now. There's no buying pressure showing up on it. So it's like, it depends. Like, you go to where the volume is. If the volume is somewhere else, then you go there. And that's just what I've been doing personally.
Got it. So earlier I was asking you about Snap, because obviously Snapchat opened up like down 25% today after the company's earnings yesterday. Essentially, the company said that they were getting hurt by Apple's new privacy things, making like advertising harder, and a bunch of other social media sites, like you mentioned, Pinterest, Facebook. We're all trading lower off the news. It's always risky trying to catch a falling knife. So I don't know if we're gonna see a bounce on this on Monday. I did kind of put some YOLO calls out there at like a $60 strike price, just in case Snap opens up 10% or something on Monday. But I think it's just as likely we see it trade even lower, maybe get down to this $50 flat level, and then right there, if we do end up dropping down to $50, I love it right there. I'm going to buy some Snap there for sure.
Yeah, I want to see it come down to 53, like I was saying prior. It has to fill this VPA gap it has right now, and if it comes down to like 52.5, 53 area, that's gonna be like my ultimate, like, buy the fuck out of this and just hold. And because right now that drop is super dramatic. It dropped 25%? Like it went from 77 all the way down.
Yeah,
and
it's
the crazy
crazy.
part is it consolidated at those levels too. So I thought these earnings would send it.
Yeah, I mean, you typically don't, even off like bad news or bad earnings, you typically don't see a stock that big, a company that big, trade off 25%.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy, especially a large cap like this. Like you never ever see something this big, like Snapchat. Everyone knows what Snap is. You never see it drop this horrendously. Like you always see big gap ups, but that drop was just insane. So I don't know how to play it, to be honest, but I'm just gonna go based off the technicals and hope they don't drop any more bad news. So 52.5, 53 zone is where I'm gonna be looking to add and scaling in.
Yeah. People in the chat are asking, did you stay up all night last night playing Fortnite?
Yeah, I was up all night. I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't sleep. I was too busy looking at other low flow IPOs, stuff like that. I was just excited for today because I knew today was gonna be a good day. It was hilarious. Or it wasn't hilarious. It was tiring. I was up until like 4 a.m. I watched CNTX open, and then I'm like, okay, and then I fell back asleep.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, this market was just so crazy the past 2 days with DWAC and everything running. I feel like it brings that kind of similar vibe as when we, had GameStop and AMC and stuff running, just some like crazy shit.
Yeah, man. When it
Oh, Ryan in the chat saying he had snap puts. I bet those paid out nicely.
Yeah, that's insane. I straddled CMG Chipotle. That was terrible. It didn't go my way at all. Like this morning, nothing. Like it did not work at all.
So
Like,
wait, straddle it. So you were expecting it to stay in a range, and it did not stay in that range.
Oh, what did I say? Straddle? I meant strangle.
No, I honestly don't know the difference. Like I know one is that you're betting that it'll stay in the range.
I bet I bought 2100 calls and 1650 calls or 1650 puts. And so I was expecting a big move to either direction. And then this was apparently the first earnings where they didn't make a significant move to one direction, like a $200 move like they did last time. And so yeah, it didn't go well. I only risked like what $500 on it, so I wasn't too like mad about it. But it was it was worth the gamble in my opinion, because if it really did go that $200, I would have made like what 1,000% on that $500. So. But, dude, snap puts would have paid so well if I just took those. I was looking at it, and I was like, dude, I want to play these snap puts. Or snap calls and puts. I was going to play both. And I missed out big time. I was so mad I took Chipotle over snap. So I was pretty mad about that.
I mean, snap puts, I'm jealous of Ryan in the chat, too. Those would have paid out very nicely. Let's see. Christopher is saying he loves gold. Like you're gonna go buy what's a gold stock? I'm not buying any gold. That's not really me. I'd rather trade options.
I remember one time I traded options on GLD, and I got IV fucked, and then I was like, dang, like I got completely burned on the IV. This was last year when everything was dropping, and my contracts went in the money, and I was down 50%. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean. Dude, I don't know. Sometimes these option YOLOs, like I'll just place them and then I'll like try to forget about them. But you gotta be watching them if you're like YOLOing options all the time, because you can get IV crushed like you mentioned or whatever it is.
Yeah, dude. It all just comes down to like just knowing beforehand all the possibilities, and that's pretty much like what you have to know is like, yo, this option can go well, but I need the stock to make this type of move, and you have to be able to figure out like, yo, why is this stock going to make this move? And then you just go from there. So something like a firm, like if you look at a firm, that thing ran today. So
a firm's just been a firm is one of those that if you learn its like tendencies and learn how to trade, and you just trade options like both ways on it, you can make so much money, because when it does have a down day, or like since like the Amazon deal and stuff was it downs, the down days are like 4 or 5%. They're not like little days. So if you're like swinging both sides, buying puts, buying calls, it can work out nicely for you.
Yeah, it's a really nice mover too. So it moves, like the options move with the stock. It's not like the stock is going to move like a whole 50, 60 cents and the options are going to stay the same like Apple. But this one moves, the options move very, very well with the firm.
It does look like, let's see, I'm going to pull up Snap on a short time frame, because it does look like maybe we do have some buyers coming in. Not really. I mean, we have this little bounce right here, but then some more red candles on the 5-minute chart. Let's go to the 1 minute. Yeah, I would just like to see Snap get some volume before the end of the day, but I think a lot of people are scared that, hey, look, this could move lower again on Monday,
Yeah, but if it runs on Monday, they'll be like, oh, dang, why didn't I buy? And they're going to complain about it.
I know, exactly. Like, shoot, it was down 25%. Like, that was so easy. I like it. Honestly, I like Snap more of like a long-term play. I think you're a couple years younger than me, Shinobi, but I know I meet these kids that are like, 18, 19, 20, and like, they don't even want your number. They're like, oh, let me get your Snapchat. Like, people just like text on Snapchat instead of texting and stuff. And it's like, I think a lot.
My Snapchat, like, I hated Snapchat so much. It's just a dick flexing contest on there. Like, I never went through someone's story and was like, you know what? I actually like this. It's honestly just like such a pointless app, in my opinion. Like, you gain nothing from it.
Yeah, I think
if you really wanted privacy, I'm sorry for cutting you off. If you really wanted privacy, you would move to Dad's chat.
Yeah, Death Chat is nice, but there's my problem with Death Chat is there's a lot of these kind of like private, you have Signal, you have Telegram, you have all these kind of chat apps that are like trying to do the same thing. I feel that way generally about a lot of social media. I think like in the next 10 years or so, we'll start to kind of see like a movement away from social media. But I do like that Snap seems to have, that demographic, like it, has a strong hold of that 16 to 20, that like really young age. I think that's what a lot of advertisers and investors really care about. It's like, would you rather invest in Facebook, which is all old people using it, or invest in Snapchat, which is a bunch of kids using it?
Yeah, and plus you just know, like when you have kids in a specific or you have that teen demographic, that it's always gonna be there. Like it's always gonna rotate in and out because there's always gonna be new people, new teens coming in, checking out Snapchat, stuff like that. Especially like 13 to 14-year-olds, in my opinion, use it a lot more than older people now. Because I'm starting to see that like people my age, like streaks and stuff like that, they stopped using it. So
yeah, I mean, it gets old after a while, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's like anything, but yeah, who knows? Like I say now that I like it for long term, but I guess in like 3 years or so, maybe no one's using Snapchat anymore. Who fucking knows? But the guy, I like the guy who run Evan Spiegel. He's smart. He's like I like a lot of these founder led companies.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go from Snapchat. Let's take a ticker out of the chat, see if anyone else is watching anything besides DWAC. I guess let's check back in on DWAC. It's been a minute. Wow, we did break that $100 level. Yeah, up above $100 now. We'll see if we can get some more. It looks like the next resistance will be like 120. So we'll see if we can get some more buy-in to bring us to 120 here. Any other tickers in the chat that people are watching right now, let me know. Crypto Maniac saying Snap is cool. Shelly saying only Snap filters make me look cute. Oh, Christopher's watching financials. So let's check out like American Express. What is? I always forget American Express. AXP.
Did you see that
wow.
aggressive drop on SPY today?
Yeah, I did. SPY took like a dump out of nowhere today in the middle of the day. Kind of like right before we hit noon. It was right here at 11 a.m. Eastern. We were at 453, and earlier in the day we were at new intraday all-time highs up here at around 455, and now we're all the way down. It dropped about like $3 or $4. So I saw a lot of stocks kind of get dragged down with this, but it looks like we did have some buyers coming in at this 450 level.
Yeah, and also I used pitchforks on the daily. It bounced right off one of my pitchfork levels, which was really nice, and it rejected the top of my pitchforks too. So it's just playing between levels right now. Like they're like market makers are just toying with us at this point. So the only thing like you can really play, like I haven't traded options all week except for like some swings. I've just been enjoying the small cap market a lot more. So much more easier just to size in and just hold and get better gains. But obviously that's all dependent on if the market's running. Like if the small caps are running, then they'll pay by themselves. So that's pretty much what I've been focused on, to be honest, man. Like SPY, I used to trade it every day. Like last week I was trading it every day. Like right now it's just not what I like. Speaking of, when we first came on here, started talking about CNTX, it was at 6.7. Now it's at 7.16.
Damn, so that's moving nicely for you, huh?
Yeah. So
you're still in the trade?
Yeah, I'm holding for like $10. I think it goes pretty fucking far, and Zach's on it, so it's like how can you lose? Especially with the fill. I got a fill before Zach tweeted it, which was crazy. So
really,
yeah. So this is like the best thing ever.
I'm sure you felt good there. I see someone in the chat asking about Fubo. It looks like, so on the daily chart, it looks like Fubo has been kind of trading in this range for a while, from about 22 up here around like 35. Like it's just been kind of like bouncing around here. So I think this level will be pretty important. Like, are we going to see buyers come in? Or are we going to see it drop all the way back down to this previous support level? I was trading Fubo a lot. I'm on the sidelines right now. I just want to see a little bit more direction in the chart. I want to see either a strong downtrend or a strong uptrend before I feel good about trading Fubo either way.
Yeah, dude. And speaking of CNTX, it's still running. It's up 8% from when we talked about, but Fubo, I think it's gonna pull back to 27.30 before it sees a bounce. And if it breaks 27.30, we'll see 25 and then 23. And if it comes down to like 23, we're gonna see it bounce because that's the golden fibs level on Fubo. So we'll probably see it pull back a solid amount, if I'm being honest, at least down to 24.92, so like 25, to create like an inverse head and shoulders or something. Because right now it's just consolidating. It hasn't broke out in either direction yet.
Yeah, and if it does get down to that $23, I love it there. I'll buy some shares at 23, but right now it just looks a little toppy to me. Like like you said, I mean, we could either bounce from the 24 level or get down to that 23 level, but either way, it's just not. I like to see strong trends, either a strong uptrend or a strong downtrend. Like you said, Fubo's consolidating here, but yeah, I mean, this is definitely one to keep on your watch list. What I do like about Fubo is it tends to move. That like it's down 5% today. Like the moves are usually like more than 1, 2, 3%. So if you're trading options on it, you can make some good coin if you have a good understanding of like how it moves.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, you said coin, right?
Yeah, well, I was just talking about money, but yeah, coin. You want to check out Coinbase?
Dude, Coinbase has been insane. Like their options move so well too. Like it ran from like 225 all the way to like 300, and now it's like pulling back, and it's like I like seeing movers like this. It's volatile. Like obviously it was in a range prior, but in that range it was still making significant moves to where you could have easily made money either way. So you would see it break down, break up, all this type of good stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
make a lot of money off of it. It was pretty great.
You're primarily an options trader, so you like to see stocks like this that if you get the move in the right way, the options pay off well. But all right, man, we are coming at time. We got our next guest here. So Shinobi, thanks for hopping on with this Friday with us this Friday. It's been a crazy day in the markets between DWAC, Phunware. We'll check back in on CNTX real quick before you go. And yeah, we'll have to get you on soon to check in on some of these plays.
Yeah, man. Sorry about being sleepy.
Oh, you're good, bro. I know how it is.
All right, take it easy, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, y'all. Coming up, we've got Tim Quas from Market Structure Edge. We're going to be talking some market sentiment. If you have any tickers that you want to check out on Market Structure Edge, drop them in the chat, and we'll get to them without further ado. Let's go ahead and bring Tim on the show. Tim, how we doing today?
AB, good to see you. Well, thank you. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well. So what have we been watching, Tim?
Well, so I will start someplace somewhat differently than what the folks who are looking at technicals will. I like to think about the context. What is going on in the broad market from an event perspective, a supply-demand perspective? I think about those things. So first thing is we came out of October options expirations, and it ties into some of these things that we're seeing happening where this got nothing to do with DWAC. We'll talk about that in a bit, but it does have to do with why on Wednesday tech stocks were down, then yesterday they rallied strongly, and then they're down again today. These are not random events. I'll go back to my favorite Sun Tzu quote, which I have mentioned on Benzinga before. So he's the author of an old ancient book called The Art of War, and he says that tactics without strategy are the noise before defeat. And how that applies to trading is if you don't understand what is occurring around you and why stocks do what they do, well, then you're destined for the noise of defeat. And none of us want that. we don't want to be defeated in the market. And look, it happens to all of us. I own Moderna, and my little voice said I probably should have sold it yesterday because supply was rising. So it happens to all of us. And I also sold Shop and Asana yesterday, and there's a reason for those things. So the context here is this: on Wednesday, volatility derivatives expired. We think of that as VIX expirations, but it's not the only thing. So if blue chips are up when VIX options expire and tech stocks are down, we can infer something. It's not perfect, but it's a good thing to keep in mind. And by the way, traders, that calendar, we put it in the, go to marketstructureedge.com and you can click on how it works at the top and it'll take you to some information about Market Structure Edge. Look at the FAQs. In the first FAQ, we put a calendar of options expirations so you can keep track of these things. When VIX options expire and blue chips go up and tech stocks go down, it tells us something. And it means perhaps the opposite of what you might suppose. So those that have been using volatility hedges by owning large caps will settle those. And so then so large caps tend to go up for a day. And if you believe that the risk of volatility has reduced and you can take more chances, then tech stocks will go down. Because let's just use an example. Suppose that Goldman Sachs is on the other side of a volatility hedge that has been in place in tech, because tech has been more challenged from September to October. And so then Goldman Sachs says, well, the customer doesn't need this anymore, and they get rid of it. So then tech stocks go down, but it means the opposite. It means people aren't hedged as much in tech. So then there's a very high probability that tech goes up the next day. And what happened? Very strong rallies in tech. Well, the prudent foresee that and say, this is a good chance, particularly if something is topped, like Shopify and Asana, and I'll show you from a supply-demand perspective what I mean. You were talking about a number of stocks here too. That Fubo, it's a 10 out of 10. And if something hits the ceiling and then supply begins to rise, the price will deteriorate, and you can see it. You don't have to be confused about what's going on.
So can we get a screen pulled up real quick, Tim, for market
absolutely.
structure? I want to check out Fubo because you heard me talking about it. It's one of my, I'm not going to say one of my favorite stocks to trade, but I like to trade it. I have a long-term bull case on it, but with every day, that my thesis is I feel like running more and more dry.
Well, you had a very good thesis. It's just that when supply and demand begin to equalize, there will be trouble. So let me hide this, and I'm just going to go to the dashboard. This is marketstructureedge.com if you want to follow along. By the way, if you just want to do this for fun and you don't use it, just click request a free trial, and you can put in your name and email. You don't have any obligation to do anything else, and you can follow along with me here. So if you were following along, I've got Fubo in this October 22nd portfolio. But if you were just following along, you could just type it in here. So if you just type FUBO, and then we're going to look at, what we want to do is look at the supply-demand balance. This isn't a technical chart. We're not looking at patterns. We're looking at two simple things. A supply side of the coin and the supply chain of the market, just like there's a supply chain problem globally. Well, goods move from point A to point B, and there are a series of things that happen. And when there are glitches in the supply chain, it will manifest ahead. What we're experiencing in the global supply chain is a result of what happened a year ago, not something now. Well, the stock market has a much faster moving supply chain because it's an electronic market. Over 95% of trades occur on algorithms. Trades have to be automated to move to the best price. That's the law. And so we measure short volume because it's the supply chain. That's what fills orders, and we'll tie into DWAC if we have a chance. So here is the last 30 days for Fubo. Here's the supply side. The supply side has been trending down. Well, that will lift price. If we're running out of supply of Fubo at the same time that on the demand side, which is this line right here, so this is the price. We just smooth it. We don't take into account all the volatility because that doesn't matter. Over 85% of trades are derivations of midpoint. Don't be fooled by all the intraday volatility. That's not where stuff is going. That's high frequency traders gaming the less sophisticated. That's what happens. Beware of midpoints. So the price is rising. Then this is the demand side. I'll explain that, but let's just finish our thought on the supply side. So short volume was trending down. In fact, we had a big dip in it. We ran out of supply. There was nothing left in the warehouse. So what did price do? Shot up, and until it hit the ceiling. Now look at the supply chain. The supply chain is catching up. Demand is at the ceiling. really can't go any higher. If that deteriorates, so will price. This tell you, prudent folks, take gains, not chances. If you see that demand has topped and supply is rising, you will know that ahead price is going to deteriorate. And you can wait until it deteriorates and bottoms and the supply chain it becomes excessive, and then the supply chain normalizes and demand gets to return. Come back. Then come back and trade FUBO. Don't be fooled by all those prices out there that are just capricious. So that's what's happening, AB. What's happening is that the supply demand equation is changing. And it's also, here's an interesting thing to think about. Think about that we bake all this into this demand side, which we call market structure sentiment. It's an algorithm. What it does is it says there are 4 different purposes that people and machines buy and sell stuff. They're not the same. They don't have the same purposes or time horizons, but they all have an effect on price, and we percentage weight them. So for instance, if high frequency traders are 55% of the volume in FUBO, but they only want to own it for less than a day, that is a different effect than 20% of it being owned by indexes, ETFs, and quants who want to be in it for a quarter before they rebalance. That's different stuff. Well, you don't have to think about that. We did that thinking for you. It's baked into this. But let's look at what behavior has been leading FUBO. So I want to just find what portfolios FUBO is. Let's go and look at FUBO, which is right here. See this? 10 out of 10. That's top. It's 42% short. The 30-day trend is down, but we know it's ticking up now. And the lead behavior is passive money. So passive money has been a good buyer of FUBO. That's money reweighting, coming out of options expirations back into tech. But once that's done, then that excess demand stops, and then the price will drop. That's how to think about it. But we can see, look at this. Every single one of these 10s was led by passive money. Tesla, FUBO, BABA, money came back to Chinese stocks. There's why. Asset allocation model said, oh, let's put money back into the Chinese stocks. So up they go. Well, if you know that, you can take advantage of it and surf the wave and leave before the wave subsides. Coinbase, same thing. 10 out of 10, top, 48% short, trend up. Passive money was a leader. Well, passive money does that. Passive money will rebalance into options expirations and reweight on the other side. And the next key benchmark for all of this money is month end. But I already know it's ending. It's already ending. So we all have to be aware of that. If passive money has done its thing, and it's the great whale of the stock market today, that's BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and they do constantly reshuffle things. If people who have financial managers with managed accounts, I do. You know, if we see interest rates rising and tech falling, we're going to reweight. That's what happens. And so fortunately, we can see all of that happening, and we don't have to wonder what in the world's going on. But that's a way to think about supply and demand and the context, options expirations, how to follow the wave, how to avoid being run over by it. You don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a lot of traders don't get into this side of things, into the supply and demand side. And as you said, I mean, the supply and demand is ultimately what moves the price of the stocks. I mean, it's like, you know, you equated it to the supply chain issue that we have going on globally right now. It's the same thing with the stock. So I'm curious, do we have Phunware, PHUN on Market Structure Edge?
How long has it been public?
A while.
Okay, well, then we should, if it's national market system. If it's not, okay, that doesn't, oh, it is in the tech sector. Okay, so we do. So let me check here. We should be able to find that. There it is. All right, so the limitations for us, by the way, will be like Pinduoduo, you know, huge company, but it trades on the over-the-counter market. Different rules, different data. We can't apply our math to the same degree. Alibaba trades in the national market system, which is comprised of roughly, believe it or not, about 3,500 stocks. You think there are 10,000 of them? No, there are multiple classes of stocks. There are 2,200 ETFs. There are about 450 closed-end funds, and all of that comprise the market, but there are really only 3,500 public companies if you're in the national market system. So here's it's been great, right? If demand is above 5, stocks tend to rise. Even if the supply side is above trend. So what we can see here is that the reason we had this very nice spike is there's a big surge in demand ahead of the move in the price, right? You will see that. Surge in demand, decline in supply. What's the stock going to do? Shoot up. But as soon as those things equalize, you are out as a trader. Don't look back. Just take the money. Take gains, not chances, right? And that's why you could see it right there, just plain as day. Here, it didn't do very well because the demand was below 5. It's just that we just normalized supply and demand to a 10-point scale because we can all follow that very easily. 5 is the fulcrum. And if the more time stocks spend below 5, the worse they do. I can show you Caterpillar and what has changed here recently. The more time they spend above 5, the better they do. Asana has spent a tremendous amount of time at 10. Well, does really well. So you could see all that stuff. So what we worry about with Phunware is that look at this trend. Short volume is working its toward, once again, 50%. It's like the split. If half the volume is owned and half of it is borrowed or created, now it gets harder for things to rise. And if it's 60%, 65%, well, that's trouble. Those are things that you want to be aware of as a trader. I'm very careful about buying, even if something is just zooming. If it's 65% short, I know I've got a very short-term window. Maybe I can trade it for 1 or 2 days. Because that supply, that excess supply, if any demand falters, it's very much like driving up a hill in your car and you've got the throttle smashed to the carpet and you're going up the hill and then you take your foot off the gas. Well, what's the car do? It stops going up the hill. Well, it's the very same principle. If the foot comes off the gas, this supply side is going to suck Phunware right down. So you have to be ready for that.
Yeah, let's see. I got someone in the chat asking about PayPal. Can we check out PayPal real quick? And what I was curious looking at in Phunware is if there were any indicators like before this crazy move we had saying, oh, look, like supply was, slowly dropping while demand was increasing, and it gets to a point where all of a sudden the stock just skyrockets.
Yeah, okay, great question. So before we leave this screen, one of the beautiful things here that Phunware demonstrates is that the last high was a 10 too, right? So if it was a 10 before, it's very likely to become a 10 again. If the preceding high, let's say the preceding high only got to an 8, well, now you know there isn't the same under the rises above 5, but before it only 8, I'm very wary of those. This is a beautiful setup here. So we would know, we could look at this and say, and by the way, we can back test it as well. We can always back test the data to say, past performance is no guarantee of future outcomes, but it's a nice way to think about it. So I would go here and profile this. It's a back testing engine that's simply going to show us what happened if we look at this data over the trailing 90 days, rose above 5, change those parameters. I'm just going to look at that, but look at how beautiful that is, right? So if we look at how often that has been true, first we made 58% in 50 days, 1% a day. Trade in Phunware, that's cumulative. That's cumulative if we bought it every time it rose above 5. And now I like to go look at the trading periods. What this is telling us is that we would have had 7 different trades for that. See that? Trading period 7. And the average holding period would be 7 days. So we made 23%, lost 1%, lost 26%. That's not great. We can look at what happened in there and see whether we would have done that. And don't buy at options expirations. You don't want to do that. 16%, lost a little bit, made money, made a huge return. So if you do this mathematically, you would say there was about a 60% chance of having a very good return here. That's some risk. It's a 40% downside risk, but it's a pretty good bet. So that's what I think about. I want to stack the probabilities in my favor. Can I do something a little better even? Maybe. I mean, if I look at the data, probably the best thing is if you could have bought it at 1. I don't know. We'll just look at the data. So that would have given us, we would have avoided the, that's not the best outcome. So maybe we buy the uptick. And that's what I'll do. I'll look at those 3 things. That's simple. So there, 40, it still tells us 5.5 is the best way to think about fun. And that, all we're doing is saying, okay, when demand rises above 5, we now know there's excess demand and we want to capture that and then sell by the time it returns. I rarely wait that long, by the way. I may be out at a 10. I don't want to wait 7 days in most cases just because it's not worth doing. Okay,
Right.
so what were we gonna look at?
PayPal.
PayPal.
But I know
Yeah.
also I can't remember if it was this Monday or the previous Monday. On Market Structure Mondays, you pointed out Tesla as a stock that was showing still increasing demand even after the price had gone up so much. So I thought that's really interesting because like a lot of conventional wisdom would say like, oh, the stock's already been up 20% over the last month or so. Like, well, I missed the move. It's not time to buy. But with your data, it's showing that doesn't matter. The demand is still rising and supply is either flat or decreasing, showing that the price could still be primed to move higher.
Exactly. And it's a core market structure concept. Price is not a metric. Price is a consequence. Price and volume are consequences of what's creating them. So if we're trying to measure a consequence rather than the cause, we get caught. That's the trouble with price. Remember that if you're a rational human being buying or selling Tesla, you may say, well, it went up 20%. I mean, it can't keep going up. Well, you're saying that 20% matters. What if that's not what you're doing? What if you're running a tech fund and you have massive inflows and you're following an allocation model that requires you to put 15% of it into Tesla? You don't care what the price is because what guides your decision is the model, not the price. That's something to keep in mind. Price is relative. It is relative to what it was and relative to the price of something else. But it's not a great measure of when to come and go in a market that is almost wholly driven by relative value. Only 9% of trading volume comes from rational thought. People saying, this is what I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to pay 25 times earnings for this stock. Well, 91% of the money in the market doesn't even consider that. Well, then which thing's going to trump? The 91% will trump the 9% 9 out of 10 times mathematically. So it's just stuff you have to think about. But what will save you from all that is recognizing that no matter what purpose or time horizon it is, it all affects supply and demand. So let's just measure supply and demand. Then we don't have to worry about all that other stuff. And yeah, I said Tesla was great, Shop was great, Asana was great, Martin Marietta Materials. In the industrial, I look at supply and demand. Well, that's a good stock to be in. It's been a good stock to be in. All those things, it doesn't really matter what it is so long as you're going where the money's going. We just want to follow the money. So PayPal, here PayPal is apparently buying Pinterest. Makes no sense to me, but I don't care, right? What matters is really supply and demand. And so looking at PayPal, you would know ahead of this news, while the supply side is falling, the trend is down, that suppose it had been something that made more sense to rational people. Maybe it would have worked out. But look at the demand side. It's been spending more time below 5 than above it. Well, that's not great. If you have the weak demand, price is going to decline. And then price fell here. So, and even though demand ticked up just right there, we already know that the supply side also moved. So if the supply and demand sides move the same, what will price do? Well, it will stay the same or fall. And that's what's happened. And so all of that fits perfectly together, right? Rational people would say, why is PayPal buying Pinterest? And we would stop what we're doing. Well, the absence of our demand, even if it's just 9% as rational people, is enough that against a rising supply, the price is going to come down. So what do you do with PayPal? I would say stay clear of it for now. It's not a good place to be until there's a better supply-demand equation there.
All right, Tim Quast from Market Structure Edge. Link is in the chat. You can sign up for a free trial if you have not already. Let them know you came from Benzinga. Ever since I got introduced to this methodology, it's been one of my favorite ways to check, how stocks are moving, like, or how can they move based on, supply and demand. Cause it's like prices of anything else out there. Earlier we saw lumber prices skyrocket. Why was that? Because demand was rising while supply was either falling or staying flat. So just like with stocks, same thing there. And again, most traders don't get into the nitty gritty of the supply and demand of stocks. So we always love having Tim on to get some more insight into the market structure, into market sentiment. Tim, enjoy the rest of your Friday and have a great weekend.
You too. Let me leave you with one last thought, just a bonus for your for the audience here. I want to give you one warning about the broad market. So we watched that whole concept over the broad market. Peaking demand precedes most times. It's not perfect. Falling prices. And so peaking demand has returned again. Beware of that. I'm not saying that the market's going to decline. I'm saying that the probability is rising, that in the next few days, we may see the market begin to decline again. Just be ready, traders. Good to see you, AB.
Always, Tim. All right. Like I said, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, y'all. That was Tim Kloss from Market Structure Edge. Link is in the description. I think Happy posted it in the chat as well. Like I said, you get a 2-week free trial, so no reason not to go over there and check it out. All right, let's see what everyone wants to see. DWAC, what's it doing? 112. We got 112. Let me get down to like a 5-minute chart because we can't see much on the daily. Yeah, I mean, it looks like this part right here, 118, 120 maybe, might be some resistance. We'll see if we can break through that. We do have a little surprise coming in here in the next couple of minutes. Hopefully we have a little surprise coming. Let me know in the chat if anyone's watching anything outside of DWAC and PHUN. Easy Mike saying PHUN's making another move. I just asked Randall Crowder, the COO of PHUN, if he wants to hop on with us, give some quotes, but we'll see. All right, Phunware making another move, dropped all the way down to 560 after being up at around 24 bucks. Now it's back at $11. Let me know if you're in Phunware. I showed my trade with it earlier. I bought this stock back in like January or February, ended up selling it. Wish I hadn't, but it is what it is. I sold it for a profit. So CRTD, this is one we were watching earlier. Oh, and someone in the chat asked, what's the connection between DWAC and Phunware? Phunware made the, here it is. How is PHUN tied to DWAC? So Phunware made the app for Trump's presidential campaign. I think back in 2016, maybe the re-election campaign in 2020, not sure. But there is a Trump tie to Phunware. I don't know if that's why it's running with it or if it's maybe just like, oh, these are both, low float stocks or whatever. All right, here's the surprise. We've got some live F1 action brought to you by Money Mitch. I don't think Money Mitch can hear me, but he's...
What's going on, guys?
What is up, Money Mitch?
What's coming around? We're in practice right now, so...
That's the first course.
That was nice. Who's that? Oh, that was Hamilton? Ripping.
All right, shout out Money Mitch.
All right, guys.
I'm
I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna enjoy it. You guys should be here. Austin, baby. Austin, 2021. Woo!
Mitch is down there in Austin, Texas. Let us know. Are you watching Formula One this weekend? I think you can trade Formula One. There's a stock you can trade. I always forget what it's called. All right, y'all. That'll be the show for today. Stick around. We've got an all-access event coming up. Some cool companies going to be presenting. If you want to hang out, this stream will automatically redirect you. Spencer will be manning the ship over there. We've got, let's see. We've got Petros Pharmaceuticals, ticker PTPI. We've got Reserve Logics, ticker RVXCF. So some interesting companies. You will be able to ask questions in the chat. You'll get all access to these executives, to these companies. You will not find that anywhere else on YouTube. With that, I'm going to leave y'all. Have a great weekend. Smash the like, subscribe if you have not already, and I will see y'all back on Monday.